that we needed to finalize. And I'm here to present the Cabinet statement on the outcomes of the Cabinet meeting held on Wednesday, 10th of May 2023. This Cabinet meeting took place exactly 29 years to the day when President Nelson Mandela was inaugurated as the first president of a democratic South Africa on the 10th of May 1994. After 3.5 centuries of colonialism and separate development, where one's ability to have access to basic services were on the basis of one's skin color, a democratic South Africa set inclusive development goals to achieve a prosperous, non-racial, non-sexist, and equal society. While many gains have been made since 1994, much more still needs to be done to realize the country's development goals. The South African Reserve Bank, in marking the 29 years, but also as part of the countdown to 30 years of our democracy, has released an upgraded series of banknotes and coins which celebrate our constitutional democracy and pay tribute to our beloved Madiba. On the Presidential Health Summit, the second Presidential Health Summit was held on the 4th to the 5th of May 2023, focused on 9 pillars of the 2019 Presidential Health Compact, which are human resources, access to medicine, vaccines and health products, infrastructure, private sector engagement, quality health care, public sector financial management improvements, governance and leadership, community engagements, information systems, and pandemic preparedness. One of the outcomes of the summit was the renewed commitment to implement the national health insurance, and this is part of a program to reduce disparities in accessing health care services by alleviating the financial burden for access to healthcare services. Cabinet welcomes the adoption of measures that are needed to recalibrate the health system and accelerate the national health insurance reforms. This moves our health system closer to better serve all South Africans. On energy, government is working closely with Eskom to fast-track the repair of the units that have resulted in stage 6 load shedding in recent days and frustrated progress in the program to improve energy security in the country. Intense work is underway at Eskom to increase the utilities' energy availability factor through substantial maintenance, maximizing the use of open cycle gas turbines, securing additional generation capacity from private investment in renewables, and scaling up awareness to improve demand-side management from larger users and from households. Acts of sabotage continue to plague the Eskom infrastructure, and therefore the continued deployment of the 880 South African National Defence Force members to safeguard a number of Eskom power stations is part of measures to prevent attempts to collapse the national grid. Cabinet welcomed the decision to appeal the recent Pretoria High Court ruling that instructed Eskom to exempt public institutions, including schools, clinics, hospitals, and police stations from load shedding based on the implications of this judgment. Cabinet wishes to remind South Africans to continue to save electricity with a national target of saving 1,000 megawatts. On infrastructure development, South Africa's infrastructure drive to revitalize the economy and create employment continues to gain momentum. In this regard, the Minister of Transport, Ms. Sindi Chikunga, broke ground of the Ashburton Interchange Project worth 2.4 billion in Umsunduzi municipality of the KZN province, which will improve the seamless movement of cargo from the port of Durban into the country and the entire SADC region. Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Minister Sihle Zikalala, has handed over 13 small harbours refurbished through the 501 million government's small harbours repairs and maintenance program. The refurbishment of these harbours will increase their efficiency and better serve the local fishing sector and other sectors in local economies. Oversight visit to Jagersfontein. Feedback on the efficient and equitable supply of water and the resettlement of community members who were affected by the disaster caused during when the dam wall burst was given. This oversight was conducted by the Deputy President of the country on Mr. Paul Mashatile. Cabinet called on all mining houses to register their tailing dams or mine residue deposit dams on the Department of Water Affairs and Sanitation database in order to ensure compliance with dam safety regulations. The Department of Water Affairs and Sanitation is currently updating the database of all tailing dams or mine residue deposit dams in the country that meet the requirements to be classified as dams with safety risks. For additional information on tailing on mine residue deposit dams, you can email graylingJM@dws.gov.za. African Travel Endeavour. The 2023 Africa's Travel Endeavour, or ATI, is underway at the Nkosi Albert Lutuli International Convention Center in Durban, with a diverse representation of Africa's tourism industry, accounting for over 20 African countries participating and displaying over 350 tourism products. The event serves as a crucial platform for industry professionals to come together, share insights, and forge partnerships that will drive growth. South Africa is proud of the support government gives to small, medium, and micro and women-owned and youth-owned enterprises in the tourism and hospitality sector. On budget votes, government departments have begun presenting their budget votes, which are a public account of the work a department has undertaken over the financial year. The National Assembly budget vote program can be found on the parliamentary website. The upcoming budget vote debates are mineral resources and energy on the 16th of May 2023, transport 17th of May 2023, fisheries, forestry, fisheries and environment 19th May 2023, public works and infrastructure 23rd May 2023, trade, industry and competition 24 May 2023, cooperative governance, traditional affairs 26 May 2023, justice and constitutional development 30 May 2023. You've got the GCIS budget on the 16th of May 2023, the state security budget on the 19th of May 2023. On municipal debt relief package, the Minister of Finance has introduced a debt relief package that writes off historic municipal debt to ESCOM to help free up revenue at municipalities to provide reliable basic services. Municipalities will be required to meet strict requirements in the form of the 33 conditions to qualify for the municipal debt relief package. These conditions include maintaining a minimum average revenue collection target for electricity and water services, ring-fencing all electricity, water and sanitation revenue collected, and paying the ESCOM current account first and the bulk water current account second before any other monthly payments were done, amongst others. On the African agenda, President Cyril Ramaphosa participated on the 11th high-level segment of the Regional Oversight Mechanism of the Peace, Security and Cooperation Framework for the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the Great Lakes region in Burundi as part of advancing the African agenda of silencing the guns by 2030. Furthermore, President Cyril Ramaphosa also attended the Extraordinary Organ Troika Summit class in Namibia, Windhoek. The summit received a report from the SADC Field Assessment Mission in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo and considered a regional response to the escalating security and humanitarian situation in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo. The summit agreed that the AU must coordinate the various peacekeeping and security improvement efforts on the eastern DRC. Cabinet welcomed the start of pre-negotiation talks between the Sudanese army and the Rapid Support Forces, which commenced in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia on the 6th of May 2023. A peaceful Sudan led by a civilian government is essential not only for Sudan but also for the broader region and the continent. Cabinet therefore calls on both the parties to negotiate an agreement to end the conflict and alleviate the suffering of the Sudanese people. Cabinet is pleased that all South Africans that had indicated that they wish to return home from the conflict-stricken Sudan are now back home, and also the assistance the South African initiative afforded our neighboring countries in evacuating their nationals back to their home countries. On trade matters, Cabinet received a briefing on developments on trade and noted that for the month of March 2023, South Africa's total exports stood at 184 billion. The manufacturing sector was the best performing, contributing 85 billion rands through our manufactured products, and the mining sector contributed 84 billion, while agriculture contributed 11 billion rands. These significant amounts, although marginally lower than in March 2022, demonstrate how robust the South African economy remains, even in the period of low economic growth and global challenges that are threatening global economies. A total of 41 billion of these exports are to other African countries, indicating the strides South African industries are making in broadening their markets across the continent. The markets where trade has increased include China, Belgium, Italy, and the United Arab Emirates, indicating the direct benefits from South Africa's economic diplomacy efforts. Cabinet decisions. The National Integrated Strategy to Combat Wildlife Trafficking. Cabinet approved the National Integrated Strategy to Combat Wildlife Trafficking. The strategy is the first of its kind in South Africa. Its primary goal is to empower law enforcement structures with the necessary tools to reduce and prevent the increasing scourge of wildlife trafficking in the country that is posing a threat to the country's national security. The strategy makes tangible proposals to enhance the capacity of law enforcement in the country, including specific focus on the investigation and prosecution of wildlife trafficking syndicates. The strategy is available on the website of the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment. South Africa's nominated candidate for the International Court of Justice. Cabinet approved the nomination of Professor Dire Tladi as South Africa's candidate for election as the judge of the International Court of Justice during the November 2023 elections of this body. Professor Tladi is a professor of international law at the University of Pretoria and serves as the president of the South African branch of the International Law Association, and is also an executive member of the International Law Association. He has served as the chair of the International Law Commission, an organ of the United Nations generally regarded as a feeder body for the International Court of Justice. He was previously legal advisor of the South African Mission in New York and special advisor to the South African Foreign Affairs Ministers. Appointments. New appointments to the Board of Independent Regulatory Board for Auditors. First is Ms. Precious Nompumelelo Sibiya and Mr. Mujalifa Musala. And appointments to the Interim Board of Umgeni Water. It's Ms. Kulekelwe Glenis Bonambi, Mr. Mzimkulu Siwa, Ms. Sylvia Tandazile Mhlongo, Ms. Hlengiwe Patricia Majosi, Mr. Famveli James Ndlovu, Mr. Sbusiso Wycliffe Mkhize, and Advocate Lavan Gopal. On bills, Correctional Services Amendment Bill 2023, Cabinet approved the submission to Parliament of the draft Correctional Services Amendment Bill of 2023. The amendments are a response to the Constitutional Court judgment handed down in December 2020 in the Sisonke Gender Justice NPC versus the President of the Republic of South Africa and others. The amendments entrench the independence of the Judicial Inspectorate of Correctional Services as contemplated in Section 7, Subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. The draft Public Procurement Bill. Cabinet approved the submission of the draft Public Procurement Bill to Parliament. The bill repeals the Preferential Procurement Policy Framework Act of 2000. The draft bill aims to create a single framework for public procurement and eliminate fragmentation in the laws dealing with public procurement. The significance of the draft bill is that it provides for the advancement of our national objectives on transformation and the empowerment of women, youth, and people with disability. It also provides for the promotion of localization and supporting local innovation and research, and gives preference to procurement from small and medium enterprises of this country. Upcoming events on the international front. President Cyril Ramaphosa will, on the 12th of May 2023, host President of Bulgaria, His Excellency Mr. Romain Radev for a working visit. This visit will focus on the building of political and trade ties, as well as cultural exchanges between South Africa and Bulgaria. Bulgaria remains a significant trading partner, and in 2022, South Africa exported 1.9 billion worth of goods to Bulgaria. President Ramaphosa will also receive Prime Minister of the Republic of Singapore, His Excellency Mr. Lee Hsien Loong, on the 16th of May 2023, on official visit to South Africa, which will focus on strengthening the existing relationship between our two countries. South Africa exported 10.3 billion worth of products to Singapore in 2022, with South Africa registering a surplus in terms of the trade. Key South African products exported to Singapore include natural aluminium, sintered dolomite, and Portland cement, amongst others. Upcoming participation in global events on the environment. Cabinet approved South Africa's negotiating mandate and participation at the second session of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee on the internationally binding instrument on plastic pollution, including marine environments, to be held in Paris, France, from the 29th May to the 2nd of June 2023. The Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee is responsible for the development of a global agreement on plastic pollution, including marine and environment. Cabinet also approved South Africa's negotiating mandate for the 35th United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization Men and the Biosphere Program International Coordinating Council, scheduled to take place in Paris, France, from the 12th to the 16th of June 2023. The mandate of UNESCO MEP ICC is to promote eco-friendly means of living in a way that is not harmful to the environment. South Africa started participating in the Men and Biosphere program since 1995 at the Seville conference in Spain. South Africa is currently in the implementation phase for the South African National Biosphere Reserve Strategy, which serves as a guideline in the implementation of the MEP program across all levels of management and biosphere reserve. Deputy President Mr. Paul Mashatile will co-host his Colombian counterpart, Her Excellency Mrs. Vice Francia Alain Marquez, the Vice President of the Republic of Colombia, for an official visit on Friday, 12 May 2023. The visit is aimed at strengthening bilateral relations between South Africa and Colombia, as Colombia embarks on a more intensive engagement with the African continent. Upcoming media briefings. Minister of Electricity, Dr. Jose Nsoramokgopa, will provide members of the media with an update on progress in the implementation of the Energy Action Plan on Friday, 12 May 2023. These regularly weekly briefings provide an opportunity to update South Africans on the progress realized in addressing the challenges facing the country of energy security or energy insecurity. Africa Month. In May, South Africa celebrates, Africa celebrates African Month, which commemorates the founding of the Organization of African Unity, OAU, in 1963, known today as the African Union. A key thrust of the AU has been advancing peace and stability on the continent, with Agenda 2063 and our focus on silencing the guns by 2030. The World Table Tennis Championships. The World Table Tennis Championship Finals 2023 will take place from the 20th to the 28th of May 2023. The event will be staged at the Durban International Convention Center, offering the men's and women's singles, as well as the men's, women's, and mixed double events. Cabinet wishes all the participants well in these events. The World Table Tennis Championship Finals will be a landmark occasion in the history of table tennis, as it marks the first time in over 8 years of this championship that the event will be held on African soil. The Netball World Cup. With 81 days to go before the Netball World Cup that will be hosted in South Africa in the mother city, Cabinet urges South Africans to keep the host nation vibe going with Netball Fridays and donning the South African women's netball team a t-shirt. The District Development Program Oversight. President Cyril Ramaphosa will conduct the 8th District Development Model Presidential Oversight to the Cape Winelands District in the Western Cape on the 19th of May 2023 as part of government's effort to improve service delivery and mobilize communities and civil society at large to be part of a growing South Africa together and to leave no one behind in this effort. Members of the executive will also soon begin the next leg of the Imbizo program as part of interactive engagements which brings a government closer to the people and promotes participatory democracy towards resolving frontline and other service delivery bottlenecks. On congratulations, Cabinet extends its congratulations and well wishes to Mr. Kirsten Neschaf on winning the prestigious Golden Globe race, in which she spent nearly 235 days sailing without GPS and other technology. She was the only female entrant and became the first woman to win a solo round in the world race. And we need to really commend the performance of our women athletes and sports people in the world of sports in representing the flag of South Africa. On condolences, Cabinet expresses its condolences to the family and friends of the Dutch anti-apartheid activist Klaas de Jong, a dedicated liberation fighter, recipient of the National Order of the Champions of O.R. Tambo. Mr. de Jong is remembered for seeking asylum in Dutch embassy, where he lived for 2 years to avoid arrest by apartheid police. He is further remembered for his conflict resolution work in many countries on the continent of Africa. Energy expert Mr. Ted Blom, who was an avid and seasoned commentator on energy policy and challenges facing the country on the energy front. Sergeant Luando Lawrence Bunga, Sergeant Mario Nell, and Constable Lifaka, the 3 officers of the Southern Police Service who were killed over the past week whilst performing their duties in their respective districts in Nelson Mandela Metro and Buffalo City Metropolitan in the Eastern Cape and at Atteridgeville in Gauteng. In addition, 2 other officers were killed yesterday. Cabinet condemns the murders of law enforcement officers and regards it as a direct threat to our national security and urges law enforcement officers to not leave any stone unturned in pursuit of those criminals who continue to murder our law enforcement officers. We express our condolences to the friends and family of our beloved South African golfing legend, John Bald, who won 36 titles in a celebrated career spanning many decades. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister, very much. Colleagues, let's proceed first, if it's okay, today to Liesl, to those who are online with questions, please. I'll take the first round. Liesl, sir, Fujisas, please.
At this stage, there's no online questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Liesl. Right, colleagues in the room, it's your opportunity, and if you'll just be kind enough to introduce yourself in your media house, please. Thank you. Okay. Colleague in the front, and then the gentleman in the back.
Good morning, Minister. My name is Andy Siwe Makinana. I write for the Sunday Times. Unfortunately, we don't have a statement, so we may have missed some of the details in what you read. Can you just brief us again on the municipal debt relief? I didn't hear what you said, but I remember the Deputy President, when he appeared before the National Assembly, that he mentioned that government, a few departments were going to help municipalities, but he also mentioned that the relief would come with conditions and it would be application-based. I don't know if you are able to give us the conditions, or what would be the conditions for the government to consider such relief. My second question is on the correctional services amendment that you mentioned. The Concord judgment came out in December 2020, and they gave Parliament 2 years. This is until December 2022 to make the amendments. Now, Cabinet approves the bill in May 2023, 5 months after the 2-year deadline. What was the hold-up? Why does the executive take this long to bring about these amendments? Because this is not the first time this has happened. It's happening often in recent years. So can you tell us what was the hold-up? Why did it take so long to approve the amendments or to approve the tabling of the bill. And lastly, Minister, in previous years during the budget vote period, almost every cabinet minister would have a press briefing to discuss with journalists whatever plans they are putting to Parliament, either before or after the budget vote. This has not happened this time around. Why is that?
Before you take the next question, because my ability to write is affected. Let me answer the question that she raised. Let me start with the last question on budget votes. They are scheduled media briefings, and I must indicate that we had a media briefing scheduled for the Minister of Agriculture, and the media did not turn up. So we're going to reschedule it. So when I was reading out the dates of the budget votes, there are also media briefings scheduled. When you get the copies of the statement, you'll see the scheduling of those media briefings. We are also catching up with the ministers we've already tabled so that they give us the dates for the media briefings to unpack the issues. And on the questions that is related, the next question you raised was a question around the amendment bill for the Correctional Services Amendment Bill and the delay. The delays are normally caused by the process that is followed. Remember, Cabinet does, ministers or departments don't just draft the bills and take them to Cabinet. There's a requirement for public participation, and sometimes when there are disputes or contradictions in what the public has submitted, you need to go back and then amend and do the next round of participation. That's where the hold up comes in. We then in those circumstances, we then, especially when it's the Concord judgments, we then approach the Concord and request an extension for the period so that we can then submit. And that has also been done in this case to request a deferment of the date that the Concord had set so that then Parliament can then meet the target on time. So that is the issue. On the municipal debt relief, what we think we're going to do is to then set up also a detailed media briefing for the Minister of Finance so that you can engage with all the conditions. But what I can indicate now, I will mention some of the conditions in the statement, is for municipalities. Remember, the major problem in municipalities is that they're not collecting revenue for both electricity and water services, and that has been a challenge. And you cannot continue to subsidize consumption of services by people who qualify to pay, because there are people who do not qualify who must apply to become in the indigent register, and government provides the first 50 kilowatts of water for free and the first I think 50 megawatts of water for free, but also the take up of that is very low. So, but it can only improve for those qualifying beneficiaries if municipalities start to collect and then meet the families or households that are not able to pay and register them in the indigent register so that they can then benefit from the subsidy. But where the situation is that there's no such registration collect. So the one condition is the setting of targets for municipalities to collect water and electricity revenue. But secondly, in the event where municipalities collect revenue, they don't prioritize paying the ESCOM account and the water accounts to the water schemes. They prioritize doing other things than those, and they use then the money not to service the debt. So the second condition that they've been given is to say, when you've collected the revenue, the order of prioritization, prioritize paying ESCOM, second the water account, before you pay your other debts or you pay even your salaries. Because I'll give you an example, a town in Heidelberg that people pay services, they're up to date, but they do not have water, simply because the municipality did not pay rent water for water. And it's unfair on paying citizens that they've paid for services in the municipality, but the municipality did not pay their service provider, and then paying citizens or residents then suffer termination of services, not because they didn't pay, but because the municipality did not pay. So it's to institute that culture. So that's some of the conditions that they've been set for them. And I think in terms of the questions that you've asked, we've done that. So we'll schedule the Minister of Finance to brief on municipal debt relief package, or if not the minister, but we'll schedule the team from National Treasury to brief on and COPTA jointly to brief on the municipal debt, and we should be able to pull it for next week.
Yeah, ministers already, and this should already initiated the process to start the two ministers doing the briefing. Also, Minister, if I may add, that I asked the client to put it on the online. They're busy with a series of road shows in each province with a lot as well. So I can make sure you get that scheduled as well. A gentleman at the back.
Good morning, Minister. Jason Felix from UC4. I have a few questions. First one is on the Public Enterprises Minister's visit to China. Has he been able to broker a deal with the Chinese over their refusal to supply space to Transnet? And then staying in China, we also know that ESCOM officials have also been in China. Is there any assistance from the Chinese or any possibility rather, of the Chinese assisting us with load shedding and with our energy crisis? And then also on the electricity minister, has his powers and his functions been, has that matter been sorted out in cabinet? And then lastly, the cabinet speak on the BRICS summit in August. Was there any report back from the deputy president around the legal options around the visit of Russian President Vladimir Putin and the impact of the ICC on this land? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for the questions. On Minister Gordon, he still, remember when he comes from China, he's going to pass, I think it's Singapore. So he's still en route back to the country. We'll then update you when he comes back into the country in terms of the progress. But we must then indicate that part of his visit was necessitated by the engagement between our president and the president of China, that we need a government-to-government engagement beyond the entities' engagement. So we, given our relationship with the People's Republic of China, we suppose that the engagement will bear fruits, and that's why we have dispatched him, so that we can clarify any other matter on that. And if he has made headway in terms of additional assistance as it relates to load shedding, he will feedback. What we'll do, we'll also commit to get him to brief the nation upon his return. On the next question of BRICS, there are two separate issues. There's the BRICS summit preparation, then there's the ICC matter. The cabinet continues to prepare for the BRICS summit. We have solidified plans of hosting the BRICS summit. Earlier this morning, the Interministerial Committee on BRICS was meeting to consider the matters, the preparation for us to host the BRICS summit. When we finalize everything in terms of being considered in cabinet, the ministers will brief, led by the Minister of DECO, will brief in terms of what are the plans that we're laying out, of course without disclosing matters that may cause security threats for our guests as they come through. They will outlay the plans, will engage with Grayson to then also communicate, Grayson Munyela, the DGG of Communications at DECO, to outline those preparatory plans as it relates to our hosting the summit. On the matter of the ICC warrant of arrest, the team is also meeting to make recommendations to cabinet, and it will, remember, we've got cycles of cabinet. We have there is a meeting, I think, sometime this week on that matter, if not next week, I think. Michael, you have to remind.
How is this?
Yes, so to make the recommendations to cabinet. And those recommendations, as indicated previously, when there's a decision, we'll communicate what is the country's position on the matter.
Thank you, Jason. Liesl, let's give you a chance, and then the two colleagues I'll have a second round for yourselves. Liesl.
Okay, from the online media, it's Linda Insel from Business Day Minister. She asks, what are the provisions of the public procurement bill regarding preferential procurement from the historically disadvantaged?
Thank you. Is there anyone?
That is it.
Yes, very exciting bill, Minister.
Very exciting and much awaited bill. It does. The bill makes various proposals on the empowerment front, prioritize the procurement from small medium enterprises, and in terms of the requirement, they'll put up even the regulations of payment for small medium enterprises. That is a major provision of the bill to enable the participation of our SMMEs into government procurement, as government is the largest procurer of goods and services in any place. But secondly, it also gives preference to procurement from women, youth, and people with a disability, and put measures to say how do they get supported to also procure. But also, thirdly, it prioritizes or gives preference to locally manufactured and produced goods, which was something that we do not have. It was not covered properly. This will allow participation of previously disadvantaged in the economy of the country, because they've always been, and you need to understand that when you are prioritizing localization or locally produced goods and services, there will be a price factor. So the National Treasury is going to work to say, how do we mitigate the impact of pricing to allow procurement for or promoting what you called made in South Africa products. And the third issue, the fourth issue on the bill, it also promotes, gives preference to innovations that have been made in South Africa and research products that have been made in South Africa. And if you recall, there's always been an argument when an innovation comes from somewhere. I'll give an example of a live experience that is being debated in the social media front. The prime drink vis-a-vis the more fire of SWU. Imagine if government had taken this decision to promote products that are made in South Africa. Where would more fire be in terms of its consumption? Because we have also assisted it to be consumed in the African continent and all those other things, and giving it access to markets. So those are I'm just using that one example because there's current debate in there. But the other issue is the procurement between what you call intrastate procurement. When you're procuring from one government department, procuring from another government department, or procuring from another sphere of government, where the sphere of government offers services. But linked to that is also procuring from public entities. The CSIR, I want to give that example, has supported magnificent innovations, technology, and in many fronts they've done a whole lot of work. But government departments could not then procure from CSIR. They had to be subjected to a tender. And you can't, so the provisions allow government to procure from the public entities without being subjected to a tender as part of promoting those goods and products that are made in the country. And of course the question will be what of the price impact. The issue is that they will have to benchmark what is the pricing. But we should know that there is always a cost in promoting local innovation, local research products, but also local manufacturing. And the draft public procurement bill allows that investment to promote the local economy. Everywhere else globally where there's been developments, those developments have happened because the governments of those jurisdictions have intentionally promoted products made in their own countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, and I definitely encourage the members of the media to have a good look at that once it's in Parliament. You're going to find it fascinating. In the House, any other colleagues here who want to pose a question?
Just a question of clarity, Minister. What is the new date now for the JICS bill, the Correctional Services Amendment bill?
The new date is that we, depending on Minister Lamula, if I were him, I would have written a letter today. It would have been submitted to the Speaker for the processing to Parliament.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Covered. Liesl?
Nothing from us.
Nothing on that. Ladies and gentlemen, Minister, I think that draws us to a close. If there's no questions in the House or from our colleague there at the back, covered and online. Minister, thank you very kindly for the feedback from Postgate. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We'll look forward to seeing you on the next iteration, and we will work with Liesl Surf here in GSAS and Parliament, plus the national team on those schedule updates that you also reflected on in Minister's report. Please, I do encourage you, once we share the statement, you will see the link there that Minister referred to where you can see all the budget votes. And please, we do encourage that because, as she said, we did have a very wide lineup from Minister Didiza. Thank you very much.
Did you tell them that I'm going to log in my flash?
And don't forget it's 12 o'clock as well.
Yes.
We log in from the office name is Stay Nice.
Is it?
Which one will give us network? Better network?
Stay Nice.
Stay nice, okay.
Oh, okay.
Shut, thanks.
Bye. Oh my God.